Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and professor of this module, Mauro Ocaña, in this master degree program in English teaching. I'm going to explain you a little bit about our research, which is entitled The Effectiveness of Audiolingual Method in Speaking Skills. History tells us about different methods that people have used in order to acquire a new language. One of them is Audiolingual method. This method helped the army in the Second World War to become orally proficient in the language of their allies and enemies in a short period of time. At the beginning, it was known as Army method, but then it acquired a new focus in teaching. It threw out a good result in that time. Nevertheless, it has been criticized for teachers or researchers as boring, effectiveness only in certain skills, or so basic for a student with a high level of English. This method is based on behaviorism, which is a theory of learning through habits, repetition, inductions, drills, etc. For that, many researchers reject this method due to it's centered in a superficial way of learning and not in a critical thinking like some theories nowadays. As teachers, we use this method in certain activities because it's so practical and understandable for students. This biographic research is focused in the efficiency of this method or to improve or develop speaking skills in students and what are its advantages and disadvantages over this topic. Thus, we can say these types of lesson can be popular as they are simple from the teacher's perspective and the learners always know what to do in each activity. Therefore, it's an excellent method for beginners. Despite the advantages and disadvantages, the audiolingual method has proved that it works. Methodology. We have done a bibliographic analysis in the research, collecting a lot of information to be studied and compared to get all the pertinent results. This is a qualitative study of audiolingual method based in many articles and case studies. We chose this way of research because there are so many authors that support this method and others not too much. And it's going to help us to explore and evaluate how good and how bad is this method to develop speaking skills. At first, to examine all the information, we analyzed each file in a chart that contains some elements such as bibliographical sources, type of research, techniques, results, problem addressed, and remarks. For gathering relevant data as long as possible about our topic and exploring all these perspectives that support every idea. Of course, after analyzing the files, we found some advantages and disadvantages. Also, it's possible to have some limitation in this research because these studies are applied in some countries or in a specific region or sample, and it's difficult to do a research with a relevant sample considering all the students around the world and taking into account that all the students are different. However, all the information collected is very accurate and assertive.
Continue with the exposition. I'm going to talk about the result that we have found in this research. First of all, we found that audiolingual method is more effective to develop speaking skill in a short period of time because it's just focused on basic speaking skill. We have found this and we have focused on the author Gofu Dengers on Gujarati in 2017. In this time, for this result, we have found that the audiolingual method is made to a quick answer for part of the students. We usually, as a teacher, we use some drills, some dialogue, some exercise that always on focus in the repetitions. So audiolingual method can help with that. In those cases, we have found the opinion of Gofu Denget Widiati from 2017, and he said that The study suggests that behaviorist learning methods of audiolinguals appear to contribute to the development of basic speaking skills. In fact, he tried to explain how responding is behaviorist in order that give a class using audiolingual methods too. Whereas Greer Santon and Hariato from 2012 and Setiawan from 2011 say that drills were effective techniques to improve the students' pronunciation and help them to decrease the problems with English speaking. Both are agreed with that statement. In another hand, we have also the result that audiolingual methods improve the pronunciation difficulty, and this later got hand in hand with development of a speaking skill. In fact, we can say that thanks to the listening or also the repetition, a student can improve their pronunciations. How we can find there are some words that they are not similar as in Spanish words. So thanks to the repetitions, the student can reduce the pronunciation problems. In this case, we have found the author Rahan Zaki Khalid from 2012, who said that speaking could not be separated from pronunciation as it encourages learning to learn the English sound. Speaking involves some elements such as coherency, appropriacy, fluency, and vocabulary building, and all those elements need to be mastered by the student. That's according with the level or the ages for each student as they needed. Another result that we have found is that the inputs for listening for compression prefer the performance. The teacher has a bit rule in this kind. Focus in what many times the student will be listening the second language. Since the teacher had to focus on the vocabulary that the student needs to use. So, according to the topic, they need to focus on make a plan with easy conversations, making a presentation, probably a phone call, music, etc. And also, this important, try to focus a basic grammar like verb to be. And finally, when the student can't finally speak and make the repetitions of the dialogue on another skills, teacher can't correct the pronunciation. And finally, the student could feel more comfortable with the other language. In this case, we have seen the article of the research from Abel Rahand and Aful Hill from 2009. In this article, he explained the advantage or disadvantage for the audiolingual method. They focus that the listening and speaking will make better reading and writing. So that means that it helps to develop other skills. Whereas also they say there are some disadvantage, like artificial learning, where he described that um, a cause of repetitions in a specific topic, some students will be a little bored. So that's what they call like the student become a robot, like artificial learning. And finally, we have found that reading is based on oral language in audiolingual method to improve the pronunciation. The real we have seen that are not communicative in a communicative fact, but it's not like that. Reading like listening, they are receptive skill. They can help us to communicate with other. Listening while you are reading is probably the best example. We can read the dialogue, we can read the sound, but also we can repeat it at the same time. And students also can deduce the meaning of words. Thanks to that, through reading, the student may be able to understand and meaningfully wrote of words, and not word but word. In this case, we focus on the research from Sevitroid from 1973. In his research, reading on the audiolingual method explained the audiolingual method doesn't have the strict purpose of person to communicate. It also helps to acquire some information through its reading ability. Okay, in that case, the student can read as fast as they can also read better, and also part of this, they can understand a meaningful of group. That means that they acquire a new vocabulary thanks to that. So, thank you for the listen.
Hello everyone, my name is Maria Jose. Continue with the exposition. Now I'm going to talk about the results in discussion. The activities or drill to develop a speaking skill are not related with the real situation. A claim shared 1990, audiolingual method is just centering in repeating patterns to develop oral skills with fake situation. Basically, this method is based in behaviorism and it doesn't have relevant studies in learning psychology in human beings. It's more empirical. Repetition or drills are good in the process, but we have to adapt them according to a student's need. And here's students first speaking because it is based on memorization and not on oral production. Consumable and Sharpenet 2017. This is because students are not confident when they face abstract topics or topics in the real life. To have a good creativity is important. Expertise, the motivation to the student, and create thinking skills. And then we have the next results. Audiolingual method is more effective with a student in a beginner level. Set Consumable and Sharpenet 2017. Students with a beginner level with can summarize with a few words, develop speaking skills in beginners student because it's easier to understand the exercise and continuous dialogue conducted both by the teacher and student make them accustomed to expressing relevant phrase in given response using the neat English expression. In general, in the beginner level, they have concrete thinking and the rote learning style, okay? Because they centered in the repetition and mimics. In general, we use the audiolingual method in the preschool students or in the school student or beginner level, like said here. Next, we have students have low proficiency in communicating the English language, as most of them only speak English when they are in the classroom. In general, students have a basic level. The author found that participants can adapt what they have learned to practice conversation. Furthermore, students, they said here, students have a basic level of English, but cannot communicate with the foreign because they lack the ability to speak. However, today's world requires that the goal of teaching speaking should improve student communicative skill because only in the way a student can express themselves and learn how to follow the social and culture's rule appropriate in each communicative circumstance. And finally, we have interference of the mother tongue when using the audiolingual method blocks the possibility of practicing the target language. Claim Conut 2018. Okay, here we have speaking, listening, reading, and writing. I'm going to explain this part. Richards and Rogers affirm that the audiolingual method of teaching foreign language or second language that emphasize the teaching of speaking, listening before to reading and writing. However, in this study, the methodology of teaching is not a pure not pure audiolingual method. The mother tongue is used as a medium between the teacher and the participants. The writers believe that using the mother tongue makes the participants understand more clearly, but this hinders learning and development when speaking or expressing the target language. Furthermore, Lasser adds that the audiolingual method is a method that instructs students in the use of grammatical patterns based on a solid theory in linguistics and psychology. Thank you. This is about our investigation.